What's up, everybody? Rob Cash is on the set. Before we get started, any mentioning of any digital asset is not financial advice. You're an adult. You should know what to do. If not, seek help. Hopefully, somebody out there can help you out. Now, let's get up with this AMB crypto article that reads Ripple building a regulatory base for the greater good. My answer is yes, or my opinion is yes. And I'm just going to speak on this, briefly, if you guys will allow me. Um, the question, is it for the greater good? I would think so because, it doesn't matter, who kicks the door down, whether it be the Cardano Foundation, the Litecoin Foundation, the, group from Tezos, or the group that's working with, Bitcoin or Ethereum. It doesn't matter, which group of developers or, foundations or corporations like Ripple. It doesn't matter who kicks the door down. What matters is that the door gets kicked down and we all go in to crash the party. That's what matters. Who kicks the door doesn't matter to me. And the reason why I'm expressing that before I get to the article, because you have a lot of people, that have brought a lot of energy, negative energy into the space, talking about which particular corporations, projects that, they hate or whatever, which I don't understand. How can you hate a project that's going to pull yours up, give yours a hand up? I don't get that, because at the end of the day, and guys, that people that have followed me for a long time know I've always said, I'm not here to bitch. I'm here to get rich. All that, keyboard warrior, snowflake feelings bullshit. I don't have time for that. I'm here to be in a better position financially tomorrow than I am today. That's why I am in this space. I respect the technology. I research it. All that is great. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to create generational wealth like most of us are in here trying to do. So, with that being said, whoever kicks the door down doesn't matter. What matters is the door gets kicked down and we bum rush the party and we all get wealthy. And Ripple is kicking that door in. And is it for the greater good? Yes, it is. So let's get on with the meat and potatoes. I'm not going to get into the entirety of the article. I'm just going to get to the imperative parts. So please bear with me as I scroll down and get to them. All right, we're going to start off a little further down where it says, "We come for you." In October, Ripple opened its Washington, D.C. office not to branch out its payments wing, but to shore up its lobbying efforts. Not only was it the first blockchain company to open a global regulatory office in the nation's capital, its members came with resounding government experience. So, what they did was they opened an office in Washington, D.C., in the United States of America, which is our capital, to be closer to regulators. And not only that, they actually grabbed regulators from these government sections to work with their corporation. Very strategic, I might say. And you can respect Ripple for this. Even if you're not invested in in XRP, you have to respect the strategy of what it's going to do for all cryptos and regulations and moving this thing forward. That's what matter. Be about the business, not the petty. Now, this is not a one-off. Derek Skloss, director of strategy at Security Token, told AMB Crypto that blockchain lobbying is surging, he said. So other, entities in the space, behind certain projects are doing this as well. Lobbying is about to be, a consistent thing, in the fintech space now, not just traditional corporations that have been doing this for decades. The crypto space institutions are doing it as well. According to publicly released data from the FEC 2019, there has certainly been an increase in both dollars and entities for blockchain related lobbying expenditures over the last few years. So as you see, it's ramping up. Okay, some other entities out there are starting to follow Ripple's lead, and we want that. Okay, we want that. So let's go a little further down here with something I think is very imperative to that question that was asked in the title of this article. We come from you. Craig Phillips, former counselor to the Secretary of the U.S. Treasury Department from January 2017 to June 2019, joined Ripple's board to provide insight on policy leadership. Phillips, a financial service veteran, had spent over 30 years working for the likes of Credit Suisse, Morgan Stanley, and BlackRock. If these names do not ring bells in your head, then you've been hiding under a rock. Because whether you're in crypto or not, whether you're in traditional financial investing or not, you have had to have heard of these institutions. They've been around for decades and they are heavy, okay, in the financial and traditional financial markets. Okay, so look at the stock and the experience that Craig Phillips come from and is now, okay, on the Ripple's board to provide insight on policy leadership. Do you see the strategy that Ripple is setting up? Do you see how they are kicking down the door for adoption? Let's go a little further. Joining Ripple's International Policy Council in August of 2019 was also Susan Friedman, a former senior advisor to the then acting Undersecretary for International Affairs, Heath P. Tarbert, at the Treasury. Her focus was international financial services regulations. Okay? She is joining Ripple's International Policy Council. Okay? She comes from the acting Under Secretary for International Affairs. Another government sector has been pulled in. Another former government entity, employee has been pulled from a branch of government to work with the Ripple Corporation. Let's go a little further. Ron Hammond, another August 2019 recruit, joined Ripple as manager of government relations. Now, a lot of us that have been following Ripple's moves, closely for the last few or couple years knows about this. So this could be a little refresher for you, or for people that are new, to doing their research on Ripple and XRP. Here's some meat and potatoes for you. This is not leftovers. This is fresh out the kitchen for you. Again, let me read about Ron Hammond. Ron Hammond, another August 2019 recruit, joined Ripple as a manager of government relations. Okay? His move to Ripple came after spending over 3 years as the legislative assistant to the U.S. Representative from Ohio, Warren Davidson. Again, people that have been following the crypto space and Ripple and XRP closely know who this man is, Warren Davidson. And let's read on him. Not only is Republican Davidson a favorite in the cryptocurrency space, he attended the San Francisco Blockchain Week in the last quarter of 2019 and appeared on Crypto Trader and an edition of the Off the Chain podcast. Unlike his congressional peers during the October 2019 hearing roast of Mark Zuckerberg, Davidson asked relevant questions. So in other words, he's crypto friendly. He is an ally to the adoption of cryptocurrency. Okay? And for those that are new, please do your due diligence and check out his background. He's been very helpful to the space, and this man actually helped draft the Token Taxonomy Act, trying to push cryptocurrency forward. But again, let's scroll on down. Now, before Hammond, Friedman, and Phillips, the only out-and-out government-focused senior employee at Ripple was Michelle Bond, recruited in April 2019. Between 2012 and 2014, she served as senior counsel at the SEC. For those that don't know, that's the Security and Exchange Commission. A year prior to that, she was a council member on the Senate committee, on the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs. Do you see the pedigree of people that Ripple are pulling in to work as executives in their corporation? Do you see the big ass foot that's kicking the door of adoption down and getting things done? So if you don't think that this is not imperative to whatever asset that you're invested in, you have your head buried in the sand and you refuse to understand what's going on here. I personally think this is great for every digital asset. Ripple strategically setting themselves up in Washington, D.C. and lobbying for legislation for cryptocurrency. They are employing former government employees in regulation and in finance to work with their fintech startup. This is very huge for Ripple, for XRP, and for cryptocurrency in its entirety. Let's move on. All right. Now, this article right here, Trump to release new crypto regulations preventing their use as secret bank accounts. Now, you might look at that as a negative thing. It's not. What matters is that they're focused on creating some type of regulation to move forward on cryptocurrencies. We're just going to get to the imperative parts of this article and we're going to keep it moving. Now, let's scroll on down here. See my man Trump getting things done and his administration. Now, I'm just going to get to the quotes here, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. Now, Mnuchin said, "We will be rolling out new regulations to be very clear on greater transparency so that law enforcement can see where the money is going and that this isn't used for money laundering." We've heard that a bazillion times. It is what it is. Listen, that's just noise at this point for those that have been following what's going on with regulations and hearing the language that's coming out, of government. That's just noise. They have to say this, all right? But do realize that we are going to have a trade-off. We're going to lose some privacy in order to achieve, independent wealth. So again, we can become independently wealth. Look, I screwed that all up. We have the chance to become independently wealthy, but it's going to come at a price of losing a lot of our financial privacy. It is what it is. We got to grow up. We got to man up. We got to woman up. And we have to expect these things, and we just going to have to, devise a plan or a strategy to try to reserve some type of privacy for ourselves and take this, opportunity to become wealthy, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to get wealthy. We're not here to bitch about whose coin's better than the other and any of that. We're here to have more money tomorrow than we have today. So let's get on, with more meat and potatoes of this article here. Mnuchin said again, "We want to make sure that technology moves forward on." I hate the way I said that. Mnuchin said, "We want to make sure that technology moves forward. On the other hand, we want to make sure cryptocurrencies aren't used for the equivalent of old Swiss secret number banking." Again, that's just noise, okay? That's just noise. They have to say these things. And of course, they want this. But again, the point is they're starting to lay down the groundwork for some clarity. Now, let's go on down here. Okay. Here, another quote. There's a lot to weigh. There's a lot to weigh and oh God, I've just butchered that. There's a lot to weigh and a lot to work on there. What? Okay, there's a lot to weigh and a lot to work on there. Every major central bank in the world right now is doing a deep dive on digital currencies, and we think it is our responsibility to be at the very forefront of knowledge and thinking about a central bank digital currency. Now, a lot of this language is coming from Jerome Powell and Steve Mnuchin. Okay, but the point is that the pressure is building up in these pipes. Okay, and it's going to burst. And Ripple and other, fintech companies are going to be the plumbers to come change all the piping in the financial system. Okay, they're going to rebuild the structure. It's going to be a new financial infrastructure being built, and they have to lay down some regulations at this point because the pressure is starting to bust pipes, and and a new plumbing system is going to have to be built. So that's why they have to create some clarity now. Okay, so that's what this article was about. Okay, we will be rolling out new regulations to be very clear on greater transparency so that law enforcement can see where the money is going. So again, they're rolling out regulations. So there will be regulations for crypto, even though they have to say it, that it's going to be on the order of to curb illegal, activities with cryptocurrency, but it still is going to, how could I say this? It's still going to coincide with moving cryptocurrencies forward. You can't have one without the other. You can't just set up these regulations to say, okay, we're preventing illegal activity. It's also going to open the door for things that are being built, for legal activity. So, the institutions will have clarity and the criminals will know where they stand, but criminals are criminals and they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. So that doesn't matter. So this is great for us people looking for crypto adoption to move forward. So let's get on with it moving forward. Okay, folks, here's my last and final article, and it reads: Fourth largest bank in the US pumps 5 million into Bitcoin and crypto risk management firm. Let's get on with it. Now, let's scroll down here. As bankers around the world investigate the rise of crypto, assessing how to interface with innovators and how to gain exposure to crypto, Wells Fargo, the fourth largest bank in the United States with $503 billion in assets under management, has announced support for Elliptic, a leading provider of crypto asset risk management solutions for financial institutions. Wells Fargo Strategic Capital is investing $5 million in Elliptic's Series B funding round, which totals $28 million. The WFSC investment will support Elliptic's product, Elliptic Discovery. The risk management tool helps banks navigate the Wild West of crypto, steering compliant institutions clear of unregulated organizations and reducing the risk of exposure to exchange hacks and stolen funds, according to the team at Elliptic. Purpose built for banks, Elliptic Discovery provides compliance teams with the insights they need to identify flows of funds into and out of crypto assets and assess the risk that they pose. Detailed profiles of over 200 global crypto exchanges will enable them to manage risk, pursue new opportunities, and meet stringent regulatory requirements. Now, if you ask me, this kind of ties in of what's going on right now with the last article that I just read to you guys about things moving forward with regulations. Yes, it's going to be stringent laws, but at the end of the day, the train is moving forward for adoption. The Ripple Corporation has kicked in the door by moving into Washington and taking in all of these former government and financial institution employees and taking them in and making them spearhead the vision of the Ripple Corporation, which of course its vision is to make XRP successful. Now, the reason why this is very important, we have the fifth or the fourth largest bank in the US working with an entity that's going to be working with exchanges. Okay? All of these institutions, wealthy people, what have you, all that big money is going to be going through an entity like Elliptic with access to all of these exchanges to pour their money in. This is a gateway for more capital. That's why this is very important. If you couple that with the new regulations or the new vision of regulations that's about to move forward, if you look at what Ripple is doing with kicking down the doors for adoption, I would say this is a trifecta for Moonshot in 2021. This is very optimistic, okay? And let's not forget the halvening that's coming. If you do your due diligence and research the history on what Bitcoin is going to do with pulling all other cryptos up, and if you look at adoption, and of course, if you're invested in the right projects, you can't do nothing but succeed. This is Rob Cash, and I'm off the set, baby. Let's get wealthy.